Welcome back to the Paradox Podcast. I am your host, Rose. Pardon. I feel like I have to cough. Anyway, I made the mistake of not really giving much of an intro in the last video. Also, I'm all by myself today. Yesterday's episode was with my sister. But today it is just me, and that's fine. I get the microphone all by myself. But today I thought I'd do a little bit more of an intro, just because I thought I would explain what I'm doing here and why I'm filming on my phone with very cheap equipment, and why I think it's fun. So, my name's Rose. That was probably said 3 times so far, I think. But yeah, I really wanted to start a podcast, I think about 1.5 years ago, after one of my friends started their own, and I was like, that sounds like fun. I'm kind of a debater. Like, I like talking about controversial things, and if I'm passionate about something, I'm more than happy to just sit down and have a powwow about it. And so I thought, hey, why don't I do that to a camera who doesn't have the ability to argue back? Not really. I just like talking. I like the sound of my own voice. But yeah, so I thought, hey, I'll start a podcast and see what happens. I recorded the first episode probably about 3 or 4 times, and I never did anything with it. First of all, I recorded it on voice memos, I think twice, and then I filmed it on my old phone, which I used an iPhone 7 for the longest time, and that was interesting. Anyway, nothing ever happened with those, and honestly, I just felt like that's fine. I'll get there when I get there. I kind of forget what I was thinking. Oh, another thing is, I kind of listening at other podcasts. I know a lot of them. Everyone has a podcast that they listen to. I think everyone has a podcast that really speaks to them, and I've heard a lot of podcasts before. And I think one thing that always caught my attention is, they often seemed over edited. I don't know. It's probably just me. It's probably that just the thing that I'm too attentive to random points of different things. But I kind of noticed that they kind of seemed really edited. So I was like, I don't really know how to edit things, and I don't love it when things are edited to shreds. So one thing you'll notice is that these episodes are unedited. If I make a mistake, if I stub my toe and yell, it'll all be on the camera. For example, I coughed at the beginning of the video, and that's going to be in there too. And I think I want to make it my own. I don't want to feel like I'm making someone else's podcast. So yeah, that's kind of how it got started. It's been a long time in the making. I purchased my equipment about 1.5 years ago. And it just nothing ever happened until now. And it was quite off the cuff. Me and my sister just decided to sit down and talk, and I decided to film it. So that's pretty much how things started. And here we are. I'm kind of wondering if I'll end up running out of ideas to talk about. That's fine. I'm sure I'll just goof off in front of the camera. I do that in front of the mirror a lot. I think everyone does. They get in the mirror, and sometimes they get sidetracked with their own thoughts, just thinking and being like, hey, this is kind of funny. I wish I could film it. I don't know. At least I do that. But yeah. I think people's thoughts are genuinely hilarious. Like, if you could, like, record your own thoughts over the course of 24 hours, there would be a lot of, like, comedic moments. I think everyone can agree that they just think funny thoughts a lot of the time. And part of that, part of my inspiration was like, I have a really weird brain. I'd love to put a microphone in front of my mouth and open it and see what happens. So I don't know. Yeah. So I guess this is kind of an intro. Yes, maybe not. I'm definitely planning on having guest speakers, guest hosts. I don't know what they're called. I'm very new to this. Here with me chatting once in a while. But for the moment, it's just me. I would like to have a topic today, but I also don't want to make the video ridiculously long because I know, especially unedited videos in today's world are hard to watch. I think short attention spans are very common, especially among the younger generations. But kind of leading off of that, I kind of wanted to talk today about Gen Alpha and versus Gen Z and what's kind of been taking place. This is not a new topic. It has been covered on a lot of platforms, and I mean a lot. When I'm scrolling on YouTube, I come across at least two. But it's pardon me. It's still something that fascinates me. And I kind of enjoy watching the two podcasts that pop up on my For You page. Forgive the lighting. It's a cheap lamp, and it looks like I'm sitting in front of a full moon. Yeah, forgive. Anyway, so I kind of wanted to chat about Gen Alpha. Something that I remember noticing when I was very young was the kids around me had phones. And I grew up homeschooled, which is another story for another time. That would be another great podcast episode. But yeah, I saw other kids my age, even at 6, 7, 8, with their own phones, which was shocking to me. Even at that age, I thought, hey, that's kind of crazy. Not that I didn't want one. I wanted a phone when I was younger because I wanted to play Minion Rush and Temple Run on my phone, on an iPod, on a phone. And yeah, so I wasn't unused to it. It was kind of crazy when I first started noticing that thing. But I was used to it after a while. It was pretty noticeable. Friends at church, friends around, friends at co-op. If you're homeschooled, you know what co-op is. Yeah, just kind of had their phones, and I was like, that's kind of strange, but okay. Yeah, I was envious, I think, as most children are. But it kind of just, after a while, you see what I'm saying? It became more of like a commonplace thing to give your child a phone, to have them be on their phone a lot. And that was just something I witnessed. Anyway, growing up and getting older, obviously, as you get older and become a teenager or that kind of thing, seeing a lot of my playmates, friends, a lot of my friends got devices, whether it be an iPad or a phone. And I remember I just kind of was like, oh, okay. I don't think I really wanted a phone till I was about 13. Then I noticed the majority of my friends had phones or some kind of device. I know that in today's society, 13 is pretty old to be getting a phone. But I was 14 before I got a phone. And that was out of a very specific situation where I needed a way to contact my parents. I started going to a Christian high school in 9th grade. So that was another reason I needed a phone to be able to contact my parents if there was an emergency at school or something like that. So I got a hand-me-down phone. I think it had been passed down through 4 people in my family. That was kind of funny. It was well-loved. The battery would have run out within 4 hours, but I was very grateful because I had something in my back pocket. I don't think I would have admitted that when I first got it, but that was definitely true. I felt better about myself. which I think is funny that a lot of kids, there's such peer pressure around having an iPhone or even just a phone, that it does boost your confidence if you have a phone, if you're given a phone at a certain age, being younger. And this is, this is all from my perspective as a 16-year-old girl. But yeah, so I kind of observed all that, and I got my own phone, no social media whatsoever. I had access to YouTube, and that was about it. I had no Snapchat, no Instagram, no TikTok, no BeReal, nothing of that. All my older siblings did, so I had plenty of exposure to that, but not really personal exposure. It was kind of secondhand exposure, if that makes sense. But a lot of my friends, as I was saying before, who had phones did have social media, and I was able to witness some of the repercussions of that. I noticed they would scroll for a while, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's something I want to do. I still feel that way, honestly. I see kids my age on their phone, glued to their phone, and it's a little disturbing to me to think that's what we're headed, especially as we're fostering children that way. We're leading the future generations into that same trap. We're giving them technology and access to whatever they want to see, whatever they want to hear at such a young age, and it becomes who they are. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. But yeah, so I got a phone when I was 14, and that's when YouTube kind of became a problem. I wasn't really aware of any boundaries that my parents had set for me. Like I said, it was in a very specific situation. My family was going through a rough patch, and most of my parents' attention wasn't on me at the time. It was on my sister, who was having significant health issues. So I kind of had access to whatever I wanted on YouTube, and it became an addiction to my phone to some degree. Not something horrendous, but I was just always wanting to scroll on YouTube Shorts, which is kind of funny. YouTube Shorts are weird. Anyway. So, yeah, after a while, my parents noticed that it was becoming a problem and blocked my access to YouTube. So, after maybe 6 months, I only had access to calling, texting, stuff like that. I noticed what a blessing that was, like what a genuine blessing that was. I felt like I had more time. I felt like I had more time to do what I actually love to do. I love writing, I love drawing, I love reading, stuff like that. Like real hobbies that I really discovered that I was able to enjoy and not just think about. So yeah, I was still surrounded more and more so by kids my age who were getting more and more access to all the latest social media platforms and all the cool things, and it's a little bit of FOMO, but still the genuine distaste for that kind of thing. I still didn't want to be drawn into that. So anyway, yeah, I had an iPhone 7 for a very long time. It also limited my screen time because it would die so quickly. There wasn't a need for another one. It served its perfect purpose for when I needed to contact my parents, and that was it. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of my story. I ended up getting a newer phone, access to YouTube again, which is ironically what I'm using for this podcast right now. But all that to say, I had a very limited reach. I had very limited access to technology throughout my childhood. My parents always set the timer. If you know, you know. And looking back, that was such a blessing, and I'm really grateful. For my age group, iPad kids have become such a joke. We'll call each other an iPad kid if we see each other on our phone for too long. It's just because it's become a stigmatism. People have been giving their children devices at a younger and younger and younger age. It's a way to pacify their children. If they're blowing up or having a tantrum or a meltdown, the screen fixes it. Why? Why does it fix it? What is it about the screen that changes the child's emotional state? It really doesn't make that much sense. It's distraction. It's addicting. It's colorful. It's entertaining. And it gets their attention off of whatever they're crying about. So, yeah, you see parents using that hack younger and younger, but with whatever that device is, whether it be a phone or an iPad, there's typically access to the internet. And as kids grow older, they're able to kind of play around with their devices. I know I did that. Kind of see what they can do, and they'll find Google, they'll find YouTube, they'll find that their social media platforms, they'll find from their friends at a very younger age that they can have access to whatever they want if it's on social media, and they'll ask for it. If parents are willing to give that to their kids in order to pacify them, then that's what they'll do. I can't tell you, even on YouTube, I've seen 6-year-olds filming Get Ready With Me's, putting on makeup, calling themselves fat. It's like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? There is no childhood anymore. Because this thing called technology, which was reserved for mature minds who knew how to handle it and their time, which we don't, is now being brought upon a generation that's not they still have a bedtime. They don't even know how to gauge what time their body needs to get to bed. They don't know how to gauge the number of hours of sleep that they need. They don't know how to gauge what good food is to eat, what's healthy for you. They don't have that maturity level. So why are you giving them something that gives them access to whatever they want to see and whatever they want to hear? I'm scared. I'm genuinely scared for the younger kids of Gen Alpha. When they hit high school and college, what's gonna happen? Like, if you take an iPad away from an iPad kid, you got a kid who's no longer has their pacifier. They're gonna melt down. They're gonna break down, break apart. Yeah. So it is scary if adults don't know how to handle technology, if they don't know how to be able to rein in their screen time and make the addiction less all-consuming. Why in the world would we expect our children to be able to do that? Our 4-year-olds, our 10-year-olds, our 13-year-olds, like, why? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I know that's definitely not a new opinion, but that's an opinion coming from a very sheltered 16-year-old. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you can relate, or just maybe give you something to think about. Anyway, that's episode 2. Weird little introduction at the beginning, random coughing, and that's pretty much all. I'll see you next time.